Hi, and welcome to the New York Jazz Workshop. Today we're going to talk about walking bass line. I want to talk about how to choose the notes in your walking bass lines. That, of course, concerns double bass players, electric bass players, but also pianists, anyone that want to construct walking bass lines in a mainstream jazz setting. So we're going to pick a 4/4 meter because that's the most common, and then it's easy to adapt to different meters as well. In a 4/4 meter, we will have 4 beats clearly, and that means that the bass player has to play 4 notes. First of all, we have to know that beats are not all the same within the bar. Beat number 2 and beat number 4, we know that they carry the most important information rhythmically speaking. That's where we count the bend in 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how we count the bend in when we want to start a tune. But for our purposes, beat number 1 and beat number 3, they are the most significant because that's where the harmony is usually changing. We're going to subdivide our 4 beats, so 4 notes, in 2 different categories. Beat number 1 and beat number 3 are going to be our target notes, while beat number 2 and beat number 4 are going to be our approach notes. So the target notes is clearly notes where we are trying to lead into, and those notes, they have to be more often than not chord tones. And especially on the first beat, it's quite important that bass player plays very often the root, because that's the bottom of the harmony, and we have to deliver that information to the rest of the band. For example, if we pick 2 bars, so we have 2 different chords. The first bar is E♭ diminished and the second bar is A7. First of all, we have to know what this information is. So you have to know your general theory, and you have to have a strong knowledge of jazz harmony, and also you have to be able to see and hear those chords on your instrument. So if it's E♭ diminished, you have to be able to find these notes clearly on the fingerboard. And at A7, know what they are. Then the third chord, C minor. F7. Just played in random order, but you have to have a clear mapping of these notes on your ears and on your vision of the fingerboard. Once we know that, we're gonna place the root on the first beat, and then probably another chord tone on beat number 3. So for example, if we're playing E, that is going E♭ diminished, they're going to A7, we're gonna play E, could be any E, but E, and then on beat number 3 we could play a B flat, which is the flat 5, or a G, or a D. On beat number 4 we could play really any note that leads into our next chord, but it's very important that this note, it's a whole step or a half step above or below our target note, or also a fourth. That's a good other way to approach our next chord. For example, a way to connect the E♭ diminished to the A7 could be this, where we have a E, so the root on the first beat, B flat on the second beat, G on the third beat, so also another chord tone, and then on the fourth beat we're gonna have a G sharp that is gonna lead into the A, which is the next chord, so the next root. This G sharp is clearly, if you know your jazz theory, it's not a chord tone, and it's not even in the harmony in that particular moment. But again, it doesn't matter, because the purpose of that note is to lead into the next chord and to make it very smooth. Of course, it would be completely different if we place that G sharp on a first beat, because in that moment we really need to have clear information of what the harmony is. So if we're not able to justify that note musically speaking, it could sound confusing for the rest of the band, and it could actually sound as you made a mistake. So my challenge for you is to go back to this and see how many ways to connect the different chords. And you'll be surprised once you start to mix with different chord tones, different approach notes, different registers, octaves, etc. You can easily multiply the number of solutions and have a huge variety and a huge repertoire. For example, I'm going to demonstrate the first two chords and then chord number 3 and 4 of this tune, Stella by Stella, that I played in the introduction. So E-half diminished, for example, I could say again. I could do this, but I could also do, or with the low octave, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, and then higher octave, etc., etc. And same thing, then we can move to the bar number 3 and number 4, C minor and C minor 7 and F7. Etc., etc. So you see how many ways there are to connect the chords, and I recommend you to do it in as many chords as possible, so that you can be able to create smooth and efficient bass lines on as many tunes as possible. I hope that you liked this video, and if you did, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more. And I also really hope, if you have the chance to be in New York City, to see you in one of our classes. And thank you for watching.